What's up, everybody? Tori, McElhaney, Terrin, Waack, and head coach Raheem Morris coming to you from the NFL Combine in Indianapolis. Now, Raheem, the last time that we talked to you, you had just done your introductory press conference. You're in the process of building your staff. Now, kind of all of those new things are done. Hopefully. You've hit that point. Now what's the priority? How does the priority shift at this point?
Tori, I like your radio personality right now. Act
Thank
like we
you.
don't walk by each other in the building every day. That was not the last time I talked to her, guys. I'm not that guy to close my door, so I'm going to call her out on that.
He does. He comes by and to go like to the calf.
We've got all kinds of construction going on in our building, so I have to walk by Tori
all the time.
At least once a day.
He knows we have the suites on our side.
Yes, and you got some good looking. You got a good looking building over there, so it's pretty nice to walk through. But the process has been great. Acquiring the coaches, really leaning on Terry and myself to go through that stuff and get it done pretty quickly. Chris Olsen did a great job of getting guys signed and getting guys into our building as quickly as possible. Really thankful for Madison, really thankful for Steve Skarnecki, really thankful for Rob down and out that we got those guys in place to get these guys moved in and get them going and get them rolling. We've been able to get to some of our profile tapes. We've been able to do some of our own talent evaluation of our own roster, be able to talk about the people that we have and how we can use them and how exciting that is. Some of those things, and now starting the UFA evaluations, and then obviously ultimately about to go into the college evaluation, that's what we're all here, has been outstanding by the coaches. Along with guys starting to get some scheme and some stuff like that, whether you're talking about offense, defense, or special teams, has been really good. A really good transition for all of us, and we've had some great people to help us along with that process. People forget how many people it takes to get people in place.
Yeah.
And I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the people that's helped us do that this far. Obviously Sarah's left, but she was a part of that early. Laura and all of the people in the building that we know well have been outstanding, and I couldn't thank them enough.
You said the college scouting starts now. What are your goals for the Combine?
For me, it's obviously to get here and support Terry. I think people lose sight when you get caught up in the moment that you don't really support the other person enough. This is a big event when you're talking about the general manager and acquiring talent and how you want to go about your business. So whatever he needs from me is what I want to be able to support him. Obviously, he'll support me during the season when we're trying to win games, but like supporting him now in the off season and how we talking about it and being able to give him more information that we can give him from my side, whether that be the coaches or myself, to allow us to make decisions when we have to make those decisions down the road. So the biggest part of the Combine for me is the ultimate support for him.
To that point, even kind of coming back a couple of weeks and, scouts are having their February meetings, all of that stuff is happening. Y'all are really figuring out who you want to be, how you want to run things. I asked Terry this question. I would love to get your perspective too. How do you kind of marry the two ideals together? Because obviously you're coming in with a new staff wanting to build something, your own ideals, your own scheme. And then the scouting staff has been here for years, and so they have their goals and their ideas and their schemes and their philosophies. So how do you get those two to marry together?
Tori, there is no ego in football. So they've acquired some really good talented players. And when you find those talented players that you can use within your system, you want to be able to come in and be able to tell them how you're going to use them. You want to tell those guys what they can do. And then there's some things where there's some non-negotiables and things that people can't do that you can't do without. So like the communication between the scouts and the coaches, and that being ongoing, it being direct, it being how we got to go about our business is what we've been doing over the last couple of months, the last couple of weeks, which is about a month of what we need to do in order to make sure we make those things right. The communication between myself and Terry is very important, but it's even more so important when you're talking about the scouts and the coaches and just listening and being a part of that stuff with each other, because that is how you form teams, that is how you build teams, that's how you build everything you're doing. And there's no ego in this thing, right? You come into this thing with no egos. You come into this thing, you're talking to each other, you're communicating. How do you use players? How do you use people? How do you get people, acquire people? How important is our Falcon ethos to how the people we bring in? All of those things are, I think, the things that we've done a really good job over the last couple of weeks.
We have to ask you about the quarterback.
Sure.
I'm sure you've already been asked this so many times.
Multiple
times.
When during the introductory press conference, you said those conversations hadn't really begun. Where are those conversations now?
They're at a high level, right? And what I mean by that is there are so many different options of people that you can acquire, right? And we talked about it, right? Obviously, the media answer for you guys, right? We can go through the draft. We can go through the trade. We can go through
Free agency.
Free agency,
Yep.
right? All the
Yep.
different ways of going about it. But let's be honest, right? There's scenarios for all of those spots, right? There's a scenario A, there's scenario B, there's scenario C, there's scenario D. And Terry and I have really, in my opinion, done a great job of getting together and kind of formulating those opinions, getting those things on paper, trying to figure out how we can make those things work. If they can work, if we have the ability to make those things work, how do we use our assets to make those things work? And I think those things with all of us together is a part of the communication that I talked about, but that's where we're at, right? We've gone a lot further of some of the evaluations of people from all those walks of what we talked about, and we've done some of the evaluations that we're going to get either further into with some of the combine guys, some of the guys coming out of college, that I think that we'll be able to find us a nice quarterback so we can go win games together.
Yeah, how much will the combine narrow down all those scenarios?
You know, this is a big part of it, right? Because there's going to be some decisions that have to be made pretty quickly here based on our NFL schedule and how you go about your business, right? And that's going to be a big part of what everything happens, right? The combine happens. All these things are happening. Some of those things will happen when the free agency period opens up. Some of those things will happen after you get into the draft and how you get further into the road. So I just can't wait to see what happens, right? Obviously, all the general managers and some of the head coaches will be talking about how you move players, how you get players. And those are the things that will happen within the next couple of weeks.
I asked Terry, I was like, you always come in here with a theme of your combine availabilities. And so I asked him, I was like, what's the theme for 2024? And he kind of landed on this idea of we're going to be aggressive. There's this idea of aggression. When you hear that, what kind of runs through your mind and what excites you about maybe that as a theme for this offseason?
I think Terry's, speaking for our fans, the aggressive mentality to go out and find a quarterback to go win. Right, and that is what he's talking about. Like, he wants to have an aggressive mindset to go get somebody that can help us win long-term and short-term. And I think he's done a great job of putting himself in position to do it. That is not just him, right? It goes to so many walks of our building. Where we're at with our cap, where we're at with the people in our building. Are we ready to win? The coaches that we've aligned to put in place. The people that are around them every single day preparing us to get ready, right? That beautiful building that's being constructed for us and how we're going to be able to go back and have that as a luxury, so to speak, and it's really been well done in our Atlanta city for us to be able to go out there and get our stuff done. I almost said Atlanta and ethos at the same time. I just made up a word right there.
Terry's rubbing off on you.
They go hand in hand at this point.
So for you, when you kind of are looking at the opportunities ahead of y'all, I know I asked Terry this about salary cap and the fact that there's $30 million extra dollars that I don't think a lot of people truly thought was going to be there. For you, in this idea of being aggressive and this idea of going after what you want, how much hope does that give you about the roster that you'll have available to you in August?
To not answer Terry's question about the salary cap, but the projections are always there because of how popular the sport is and how that moves and how well that's been doing over the last couple of years, that you can kind of project where we're going. And you don't see yourself going backwards because of how popular you've made it, right? Talking to the media and you guys today, that you're the media today instead of my down the hall neighbors, right? You guys are those guys. But those projections have been made, and it's really exciting for all of us, right? Because, it's not fantasy football.
Yeah.
But it certainly is fun to be able to go out and find ways to acquire talent to bring into part of some things that have been really done well around here. And to be a part of some people that's done some really good things, and to be a part of some really good guys like a Jared, like a A.J. Terrell, like a Jake Matthews, being some veteran leaderships, along with those young guys that we keep mentioning, that it is fun. And it is cool to think about. And not to say we knew we'd have 30 extra million, but to get it, you certainly do go through your projections and be ready to deal with it when it happens. And I think him and the staff have done a nice job of preparing us for that.
I think you've mentioned Terry in each answer. How has that relationship formed? Because I know that was a priority for you coming in, especially having seen how Sean McVay and Les Snead work together.
I've spent so much time with Terry that I can't say a sentence without mentioning his name. Because it's truly, it's been fun, right? And it's been fun to be a part of being with him and just talking through the ideas on what we can do as opposed to what you can't. And I think that's been really positive for all of us and how we move forward. I think that's been a positive trademark that we're starting to acquire with each other. And it goes back to communication like we talked about earlier, right? That open, that honest, that ongoing. I think that is huge. And that has to not just be words that we said in the press conference or the opening press conference. I think it's something you have to live, and I think we're showing the ability to be able to live that right now, and I think that's the cool part for us.
Well, he even said there's been some disagreements, and y'all are able to work through them. How does that strengthen that bond?
For me, I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. I'm not the smartest person at this table right now, right?
Oh, come on.
I want you guys to have the ability to be able to listen, to be able to learn, and I think that's a part of it, right? So, like, when he's going through his points and we're talking about the stuff, whether I agree right away or not, it allows me to go back and do more research. It allows me to talk to different people. It allows me to come back and circle back and say, hey, I can see your value and your point, and then, let's get together and come up with a happy medium on what we want to do. And I think all those decisions has to be done that way. And, like, I truly believe the collaborative mentality on how we want to get a business done. And we've displayed that the last couple of weeks with each other.
Yeah. How have you seen – I want to talk about your coordinators really quickly because they've actually had the opportunity to get in there, start working with their staff, start working all of you together in one location, which that in and of itself I think is a feat. But how have you seen Jimmy Lake, Zach Robinson take over their respective units?
I love the fact that you get a chance to lead. And as a leader, the position that I'm in position to give those guys good guidance. And then the guidance that they've taken it to another level with their own individual units on how they've been moving, right? So having the different leadership groups from those sides of the ball, along with Marquise from the special team side of the ball, getting his staff in line and getting the things that he wants and things that we need. We get together and get to put together our musts, our wants, our needs, and having the clear-cut vision on what they believe and what Terry believes and myself, and bringing all those things together, to me, has been outstanding. And is there absolute way you want to go to empower some of the people to be around you, to lead their groups, to be able to get with their groups, be able to settle those guys down. And also, like you mentioned, having a disarray of getting people in one place at one time has been outstanding.
Yeah. Now, we are at the NFL Combine, so I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question, but how do you kind of go into the Combine, and what are you looking for when you have these conversations with these prospects? You have the formal interviews, the informal interviews, the workouts. I mean, what are you really prioritize over the course of this week?
We can say whatever we want to say about the Combine, but the thing that you get the best information from is the medical. Mm-hmm. And the medical either breaks your hearts or it makes you excited, right? But getting the medical from the players is really important, getting them all in the same spot, getting a chance to have Jake Files around them, your doctors, your people, to be able to give you good information, to have some projection on what these guys can be, right? Obviously, when we look at tape from a coach's standpoint, that lights us up, that fires us up. But ultimately, you got to make some projections when it comes to the medical stuff and how you want to do about your business. So that's a major part for it, right?
Yeah.
I am fortunate because I really trust our scouts and how they go about their business and the information they've been able to gather over a couple of years to be able to talk about it and have conversations with the guys and them show you who they are in their walk of life when you do the interviews. But the most important part for me is the medical, and then it just moves down from there on the players, the player on tape, and the different things you get a chance to run on that 10-minute interview, you get a chance to get with them, or 15, whatever it is. I think all those things really help us and move forward.
I genuinely didn't expect you to say medical. I don't know.
I don't know. That's a great answer, and I think that's the most realistic answer. When it comes to, you talk about trusting the scouting department, was there a moment over the last month and a half where you really felt that trust had been established, and what was that moment where you looked at them and you're like, you know what, these guys know their stuff. I trust them to make these decisions and really inform me. You
never want to say that you completely trust anybody right now, but it's an ongoing process, right? And I think they've done nothing to show me trustworthy type attitudes and things moving forward, right? So over the last couple of weeks, the information, how we've moved, how we've talked, how we've communicated, how I've been able to listen, how they've been able to learn, how I've been able to learn, listen, through all the different things going back. It just runs in this circle, and I think that thing will be developed over time. And I think that's the way we projected it moving forward. And I think it's really coming full circle for us right now with myself, with Terry, with Kyle Smith, with Ryan Pace. And I can go on, DeWine throughout the building, and like the people that are Hakeem, right? All the guys that are around every day and just absolutely building to that fire, I think is how you develop that trust and keep it going, right? Let's be honest, I was a little bit fortunate, right? I made a comeback, and I got a real trust developed with Tumbo and Rustin Webster and
good point.
Some of the guys that were here that I've worked with on numerous occasions, and like that's a difference, right? That is a different circumstance for most people coming into a situation that I'm in. Yeah,
not a lot of people have that in this league, and I think that's something to be commended. Now, before we get you out of here, you talked about there are some non-negotiables that we're never going to stray from when it comes to these prospects, these players, whether it be free agency, the draft, trade, whatever. What are some of those for you?
It's always different situations. Everybody's going to be a different platform. There are always going to be character traits that throw up warning signs for us to discuss. Right? And then the non-negotiables will obviously talk about our ethos, but it also talk about the people that I want to bring around you too. right? That's a major part for me as well, right? It's not just a player. It's about, do I feel comfortable bringing them in our building around people that I care about?
There you go.
And I think that's really important for us to make those decisions, and that's how you establish your non-negotiables at the end of the day. We have the character traits, which are pretty obvious to people, and what you know and what you don't want. Just to say bad people without going to all of them.
Yeah.
But then do I feel comfortable bringing them to the building with you?
Yeah.
And that's important to me.
Oh, I feel prioritized.
I think that's a good note to end on. It's a feel-good note. Now, thank you so much. I know you got a ton of stuff to do today, so we'll let you go, but thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.